Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Classic DM. We're in episode, 14, 15 now, and this one's going to be entitled To the Death. This is going to be probably the largest raid size battle of the entire series. It's bigger than the giant room in the setting of the Hill Giant Chief. It's the Lord of the Frost Giants themselves, Wassail room. If you haven't seen the prep for this, you should go back and check it out. This is a very, very, very nasty fight. Our party's going to have to use a kill zone to live through this. And before we go any further, let's give you a quick little overview of how we actually got here. If you're just tuning in late, have fun, watch this episode. It's a really nasty battle. If you haven't, let me give you a quick little synopsis here of what we've gotten going on for the past while. If you go to our Classic DM YouTube site, we've got stuff broken into playlists. And one of the playlists of the very first ones we did was the Studying the Hill Giant Chief, which is this playlist right here. And this was about, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 hours of gameplay. A lot of these videos are 20 minutes to an hour, hour and a half. We had one really, really long battle for 2.5 hours, another one for 2.5 hours. The party didn't do the entire dungeon, but they did enough of the stuff to get a lot of key clues to their motivation for the storyline from the very, very beginning. And the very, very beginning, well, the reason why they went here is to try to rescue the stolen child. Drow, in collaboration with a bunch of giants, had stolen a child. We have a family of tiger nomads and royalty from Ket that are working together. Let's just turn that down in the background and get a little loud. And they suspected that Tussman was involved. They originally found in the Tussman Hills there was the Hill Giant fortress. They were trying to find the stolen child from Princess Mara, who's from the Tiger Nomads, Prince Aiden from the Ket. They went to that encampment. They wiped the floor with everything, discovered the Drow were involved. Then they decided to move forward to where it seemed that they were moving this child due to some maps they had to the Glacial Rift of the Frost Giant Jarl. And our party of 7, which is Mercedes the Fighter, Zalaris the Tiger Nomad Fighter, Eliphanisi the Tiger Nomad Monk, Vrenjar the Tiger Nomad Assassin, Felcherna the Tiger Nomad Druid, and Tola the Royal Ket Cleric, Battle Cleric of sorts, Obscura, who's also from Ket as well. So they had a number of clues that they gathered along the way that led them to things such as this is the clue that gave them a sense of Drow writing on it that the child had been taken and moved to a certain part of the Glacial Rift. The Tiger Nomads knew where that was. They deciphered a letter in the past that showed that they would take this child and sacrifice it. They used the Infinity Chain to get to the Glacial Rift of Frost Giant Jarl. That kind of pays respects to the original Gygax module. In the first level of the Rift, they discovered in one of the rooms a number of previous adventurers frozen in blocks of ice, and they were using a wall of fire to defrost that, and they got a copy of this old Dorger gray dwarf kind of strange dwarven hand-drawn map, which is what you're seeing now. They used this to tactically plan where they were going to go. People voted on the Patreon site once they got this map where they wanted to go, and everyone decided to go down to this area here where the massive nasty battle happened against the Remorhaz, and in the Remorhaz battle there was a sinkhole in the bottom that Felcherna fell in the sinkhole and ended up on top of the White Dragon cave lair. So from there they worked their way through this blue area, so now they're in the bottom level, and they're still trying to rescue this child, but they're kind of like hot on the heels of the bad guy. Imagine detectives with somebody that's got a hostage taken hostage, and so they're maybe like 2 to 3 days behind. So they worked their way through this entire blue area, and in their last episode they scouted out this massive, huge throne room. And this is one of the fights we're going to do. It's one of the fights we're going to do today. It's going to be probably in multiple parts. It's really, really huge. I don't want to do one long, nonstop video for 12 hours, but we'll try to break it up into segments. The first segment is going to be the setup, the kill zone, the first couple of pulls. If you're an EverQuest player, you know what I'm talking about. We did this before previously by Obscura using an illusion spell, and her invisibility spell, and she scouted down to this area to take a peek and see what was going on. And once she moved down there, she found this tremendously huge cavern that's like 100 feet by 200 feet long. At the end of it is this incredible throne, and the Lord of the Frost Giants himself is there with a number of retainers. We've got some minis made for some of these guys here, except for the Stone Giant, and this huge wassail going on with visiting Stone Giants and Hill Giants and Ogre Magi, Cloud Giants, a couple Storm Giants, all kind of business going on. Just about the time they're ready to figure out what to do, an Ogre Magi dropped out invisibility, flying, and blasted the group with like a cone of cold kind of spell, really damaged everyone badly. Even though they were able to pull some of the guards that were in this first area here that you see at the top of the map here where the transition is, they were able to pull some of them and drag their corpses back and kill them. Mercedes ended up being charmed. This is a shot here from that battle happened where Zolris is trying to keep her at bay while everyone else gets a Dispel Magic off on her. The group got really heavily wounded, and then they retreated all the way back to the White Dragon Lair cavern, and that's the sound escape you're hearing in the background of them with the opening in the roof. They went back and redid all their spells, and what we did on the YouTube channel is we went through step by step how do we determine what spells to take. So let's just go ahead and take a look at this playlist real quick here. Here's our full playlist here for the Glacial Rift. So you see all these episodes here from the very beginning, from the first adventure of the Upper Caverns, the Dogs of War. They charmed a number of winter wolves and got them to help them. They had to stop for directions to determine what they wanted to do here. They had the Field of Frozen Bones, the Remorhaz battle, the Dragon Lair battle of Varenjar decapitated a white dragon. It was very dramatic. Then we entered into this grand entry hall and started killing some of the guards through there. We prevented them from using their horn to alert the rest of the entire complex, and as they started moving further and further down, they got to this fence area, and they killed the guards in that area, and they started moving down to this Eyes of the Dark, which is where we talk about where Obscura used her invisibility spell to go scouting. So after that, we had this Ogre Magi fight we had to deal with, and now everyone retreated and spent 2 days recovering. Okay, so this changes the landscape of what's happened in the background. So behind the scenes, I've gone through and changed a number of things. We did a design session where I haven't posted that video yet. I may or may not post it. I don't know whether it's fair to let people see it, but I might at a later date, where we laid out the raid boss encounters for everyone. And what I'll do is I'll show you today what they look like. So the first thing we want to do is give you a shot of where everyone is right now. What we have is north is top for you, and our party is moving down into this cloakroom, and we've got Varenjar in the front, Hidden Shadows and Elefanici right behind. Then you've got Mercedes and Zolris right behind them. Then you've got the Druid Felchurna over here by the table, the Cleric Antola, and the Illusionist Obscura. And in the last episode 12 and 13, we reworked all of Felchurna's spells to include more area effect oriented type spells, anticipating their plan. Their plan is to set up a choke point here. They discussed this at links. There's these two, we use these little silly egg holders here, these two massive burning braziers here that they didn't snuff out. So you got massive amounts of smoke billowing up this way, being pulled up towards the colder part of the cavern. Now in this area down here is this incredibly huge wassail going on, and it's getting a little rowdy. They drinking and then sleeping at the tables, and some people are leaving and coming back, and it's really, really loud. So as the group starts to move a little closer to this area, our soundscape starts to change a little bit. We start hearing more of the music and more of the stuff going on in the background. We don't really have the wispy cavern sound. It's very, very quiet because I cleared everything else out previously, and things started getting a little more out of hand. So we have a lot more rowdy giants having fun, smashing goblets and beer tankards and just going crazy. So you have this really kind of a barroom brawl kind of thing going on in the background. So while all that's really fun and everything for the giants, the good thing for the party is it gives them a little bit of concealment. So this whole area here is still illuminated, and this area down here is where this wassail is going on. So what's happened is here is we're going to have Varenjar is going to hide in shadow. He's going to get himself in position. They discussed previously where they want everyone to be. So Varenjar is going to set up shop on this side, on the east side for you, and Elefanici is going to set up over here on the west side. And what we decided to do is have Mercedes over here, and we're going to have Zolris is going to be over here. Now you may remember that these two massive things here are huge stone pillars that go up 20 feet into the air and have a huge crossbeam beam. This is a real celebrated entry for this massive hall. Let me just give you a snapshot here. We'll pull this up here. You can see this is the massive hall down below. So if we were to take this and pull this up for you like this method here, let's do it like this so you can see a little bit better what we're talking about. Here's another map. So I'm just going to hide that background map there real quick. So this is where they are, this upper corner here. Okay, this upper corner here is this upper corner here. I've got another screen capture image set up so you can see more of that. So over the course of the battle, we'll be able to do things like move that around, and you'll be able to see more details of what's going on because I can't really pan the map around a lot. So I'll be able to do things like this and be able to talk you through what's actually happening with some of the map. So for right now, we're just going to leave this set up right overlaid on top of this, same scale and everything. I'm just going to conceal it for the moment while we handle the affairs at hand with everyone here. So let's go over to here, and talk about those spell choices. Okay, so for Trina, she picked up all entangles as level 1. If you see on her spells by level side on the right hand side, the entangle spell you may see when that episode is extremely powerful in first edition. It's a guaranteed 50% snare. It has a huge radius. She's got that 5 times. That will allow them to control areas to prevent the giants from flooding through this aperture opening here, which is only about 10 feet wide, and overrunning them, pushing them back. Okay, we decided to have Antola set up shop right over here, so he can protect the warriors as they're fighting the fighters, and we're going to have the druid on top of this table here, and Obscura is going to sit on top of this table here. Remember, these are huge, massive frost giant sized tables. For example, when these guys had guards in here, this is how big a frost giant is for scale. Okay, so you can see this is the ideal. This is the ideal choke point. Okay, so their whole plan is that everyone in the next room is really facing the wrong way. So Feltrina picked up Entangle. She got a couple Charm Persons. Once they realized there were some Ogre Magi's and some other nastiness in there, she got Charm Person or Mammal. There's 2 Winter Wolf pets for the Lord of Frost Giants. She picked up Snare, which is a really good single target snare. Pyrotechnics, which is a brilliant spell that it combusts and explodes and covers the whole area with smoke. Everyone inside the smoke wouldn't be able to see. And then she's got Hallucinatory Forest, which is great for blocking off part of the map. It makes people think they see a massive forest. And so the Druid, this is one thing about the first edition Druid that's so wonderful, is that the area effect control complements a massive melee train or nuking train. She still has her animal summoning, which allows her to summon 8 wild horses from the Tiger Nomad steppes. And she also has, later on in level 5, she has summon up to 6 woolly mammoths, which will just stampede and run over anything in the way. So between the Entangle, you can already start to see the synergy happening there. Entangle, Pyrotechnic, Animal Summoning, and you just got a stampede of area effect running over Frost Giants stuck in this choke point. Now, in order for that to work, we're going to let this unfold as we actually do the battle. In order for that to work, they've got to hold the line. No pun intended for you Warhammer players, but they're going to have to alternate, almost like in EverQuest, as which warrior is here and where the cleric is healing behind them. And the bad things can go bad if people start throwing boulders through this way. Okay, so now let's go back to Antola. He shifts most of the spells to Sanctuary, which means he can be protected while he's casting some heals in the front lines. That's going to be important because as Zolaris and Mercedes are in the front line, Antola will be able to come up and cast he only has 2 heals, okay? He still has Cure Serious Wounds, which are 3d8, but everyone else has potions. So they have a situation, if this person gets hurt too bad, they're going to slide out of the way, and the other warriors have to step up, and then they're going to have to focus on healing, and they have to swap back. So they're going to slide back and forth here behind these pillars with the cleric in the middle to rotate to control this choke point. If things start getting nasty, the illusionist can do things to stop things, the druid can do things to stop things, and of course we have Eliphanisi and Vrinjar, and their goal is to prevent these backlines from happening. So they're going to kind of do this very tactical keep defense, if you would. So he also picked up Slay Living. Antola Slay Living is a really nasty touch effect spell. If something gets really nasty, when somebody's got to die, or if the Lord of Frost Giants gets too close and we can't do anything about it, and he resists half the spells, and he starts killing someone, like Eliphanisi, who only has 40 health, he can just walk with them and just in one utterance cast that one spell and touch them. If they don't save, they're going to die instantly on the spot. He didn't take harm, decided to keep the heals. The heals are a complete heal except for 1d4. So if you were to cast that spell in a battle, someone would be healed for all their hit points except for 1. So that's really, really powerful in first edition. Harm is the same. So the cleric's really much going to be doing the healing role. He's also heavily armored and can also take some hits and block some things with his shield. So he's going to, like a Chosen would in Warhammer Online, going to help block and hold the line. So if Zolaris rolls a 1 and flubs and gets out of position to prevent a Frost Giant from trying to slipping through, he's going to step in and help block that opening. If you've never played Warhammer Online in the old days, there is a private server you can still play on it, but if you have played the tabletop version, you know all about this kind of stuff. So positioning is everything. We're going to do this very tactically. Last, let's go to Obscura. She didn't change too many of her spells. She's just using Colored Spray, Darkness, Phantasmal Force, Hypnotic Pattern, Invisibility, Blindness. Paralyzation is going to be a really good one for her to pick up, and Confusion. Confusion is really, really nasty. Confusion will make almost 8 things in a huge area effect, do a random effect, like attack each other or sleep down or wander around randomly for 10 minutes. So everything's going to be about crowd control. The initial plan is if things go smoothly, they're going to be able to wipe out the first wave of guards here at this choke point. But if the smarter guys in the back get onto the plan and start barking orders and tell people to pull back, they're not going to advance into the room, and if they do advance into the room, they're going to have to use a lot of area effect to control from being surrounded on all sides. Let's just take a look again at this map, and let me give you a quick overview of what do we have in store here, okay? So we've got every single one of these things worked out. Here's your master list of what is in that next room, okay? So you have 6 hill giants, and those are just, remember, these are hit dice 8 to hit AC 0-12 guys. They're all armor class 4. They're from the steading of the hill giant chief. Now, the steading of the hill giant chief, everyone got killed there, but there were some hill giants sent for this massive winter festival wassail. So they're here for ambassador purposes, if you can be a hill giant ambassador at all. So these guys are typical nasty, using two-handed club type weapons, 2 to 16 damage, AC 4, all 64 health. Like I said before, all our characters are max health for the players, max health for the enemies. So we got hill giants. That won't be too much of a problem. We usually mow through them pretty easily. The next up, we have a bunch of local fire giant, local frost giants. So if you look at this table here, let me pull that table up here on this panel and let you see which one I'm talking about. So if you see this table right here in the middle, in fact, what we'll do, let's make this really big like this. Cover the whole screen for you. There you go, right there in the middle of the screen. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 frost giants sitting there. Those are local frost giants. So this group of tables here, you've got 3 hill giants here and 3 hill giants to the eastern table. Let's just pull this over here so you can see this a little bit better. Then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a total of 9. So we're calling this 9 local frost giants. So for the local frost giants, we've got stat sheets for them figured out, almost like a stat block. Lord soldiers, bugbears. Here we go. So these are typical frost giants like we've had the rest of the adventure. Okay. So these guys are all hit dice 10, AC 4. They're using massive two-handed axes, frost giant size. They do 66 damage. That's a lot more damage than does the original player's hand, but they're all 80 health guys. So let me just pull this back down so you can tell you what we'll just reveal and unreveal this. This is where we're talking about. This is the frost giant guys right here. Okay, so we've got their stat sheets worked out. We'll just put that up here. They will probably be the bulk of what's going on in the beginning of the fight. What else do we have here? Let's put this over here nice and neat so you can take a look at it. The next thing we have is we have local frost giant sergeants. No, we have the local frost giants 3 in the front. So let's just take a look at that map again. So if you take this map and go down here, you've got one guy at this table here with Ogre Magi and the Stone Giant, and then 2 guys in front. These are buddies of the visiting Jarl who's sitting at this master's table. So this is the Lord of Frost Giants himself, his 2 Winter Wolf pets. We've got a visiting Fire Giant female, who's actually a cleric, another Stone Giant Elder. The Stone Giant Elder has some friends. We have 2 Cloud Giants with no ambassador. They're just kind of visiting and hanging out and seeing what kind of they can get out of the deal. So we've got these 3 guys here. So these 3 dudes in the front here, they are, let's see, we got the Frost Giant Lord. There's the Lord, Ogre Magi, Stone Giant Attendants, Frost Giant Sergeants, the Lord Soldiers. There we go, Frost Giant Sergeants. So we're going to call these the Frost Giant Sergeants. So here's their little stat block sheet for them. These guys are hit dice 10. They're AC 2. So the 3 guys in the front are wearing the most fanciful armor possible. They're not wearing typical Frost Giant kind of chainmail. You'll see this in a lot of the minis that are made by Reaper Bones and WizKids and everyone else, is that when they make Frost Giants, they're always wearing, this kind of chainmail type of armor. They aren't wearing a lot of plate. So the guys in the front row, they're wearing a lot nastier pieces of plate mail. So we've got these guys represent them. So they're AC 2, so armor class is harder to hit. They're still the same roll to hit. They're also to hit AC 0, you only need a 10. So as you notice, it's just like the regular Frost Giants. So they're still the same damage output, but they're harder to hit. So those guys will be hard to deal with. And then we've got these 3 guys on the east side, and these are more local Frost Giants, but they're considered sergeants. And what we decided to do when we designed the room is we put these guys, let's pull this map up again. Now you see this table here on the far east side, right below these bugbears, these 5 bugbears sitting at a little round table by this sloping guard output. These 3 guys here are like your best buddies. So for the Lord of the Frost Giants himself, we are calling these guys Frost Giant Sergeants. So these are also AC 2, so they're decked out in heavy armor, plate mail pauldrons, plate mail boots, plate mail bracers, and things like that, and big helmets and everything, using two-handed weapons. They also are doing 66 damage just like the other guys. So just like these dudes in the front row up here, they're all decked out, but they're in alliance with the Frost Giant, Lord of Frost Giants himself, our main boss for the whole battle. The guys in the front row are aligned with this visiting Jarl in the center of this adamantite drow constructed dragon bone table. So that's a snapshot of what that looks like. Let's just move this out of the way. So that's what these guys are doing in the room. So we've got a lot of baddies in here. Now, what else do we have? We have, going down our list, we have one stone giant. This is a stone giant elder. He's like a visiting buddy of the elder. Let's just go down here. As you can see at the main table, there's one stone giant. Let's just go ahead and talk about him. He's a stone giant elder. And this is an interesting character that we kind of created ourselves. I always wanted to make sure that when there's visiting dignitaries, ambassadors, and everything else, that what you're getting to see here, here's the stat block for him, is something really, really powerful. We decided to make this stone giant elder not some cave dwelling, cave carving, reclusive bear tamer with a club in his hand. We wanted to create the stone giant faction somewhere in the Yatel Mountains that's more armored, that's more stoic, more philosophical, but uses heavy weapons. In this case, we're using a two-handed hammer. So maybe they're more along the dwarven line of thinking of living underground and carving and making things. So this guy's an elder, so he's really, 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 really old, but he's got a buddy with him that's also a stone giant. So let's just go back to our... I got a stat block sheet for him. We're calling him a stone giant attendant. I got a cough here. Give me a second. Excuse me. So we got the stone giant elder at that front row. Let me just give you a shot of that room again. So you see sitting at this front table here, and on the right-hand side, the stone giant elder, and at this first table with these 4 other ogre magi is this attendant. So the attendants hit dice 9. The elders hit dice 11. So the main guy himself is armor -2. And the reason why we did that with him is the regularly a stone giant's AC 0. So we dropped this elder's armor class down a little bit. Maybe he has a ring or something on. It doesn't matter. 90 hit points for him. Hit points for the attendant is only 72. So that's pretty basic. The elder is using a huge two-handed hammer with +4 to hit. So we've modified his plus to hit roll. As you can see, his AC 0 is 10. So he's really, really nasty. Really, he got an attendant with him as well. So let's put that up here. And we go on to who else we got here. Let's go take a look at that map one more time. Let's see, who else we not talked about? Oh, we got bugbears. Okay, yeah, we got visiting bugbears. You never can have enough bugbears. These guys are also from the steading of the Hill Giant Chief. There's a faction of bugbears in there. So these are just basic bugbears, a little bit tougher than the guys in the setting Hill Giant Chief, but not much. They still hit dice 5. They're AC 4. They're 1 to 12. They're using glaives, which are like long polearm weapons. And so they're visiting. They're no big deal. But you got to have them. They're chumps having to sit in the back. So they're sitting in the back by the weapon room entrance and this kitchen entrance. So they're all sticking really, really close together. We got some minis we're going to use for some of them this time. We got 4 minis. We picked up some WizKid minis for them. They're not painted, unfortunately. The low priority on painting them. So these guys here are some of we picked up some minis and made some of our cool custom bases for them. We'll use some of that, but we also got the good old-fashioned tokens that we made. In fact, I could just put this out here for you for fun. This is everything in the throne room. So everything we've been talking about here is on this table right here. So this little plate's got everything we want. So we got bugbears in here too, and so we can use the regular old tokens like we've made before. We saw in the setting of Hill Giant Chief for bugbears. So bugbears are great. The bugbears are wussies. You're a friend with all these powerful giants. They're so much bigger. They're huger. They're kind of thinking like, what kind of deal can we get out of this? We're just having to be, bloodthirsty killing machine mercenaries for the steadying of the Hill Giant Chief. So they are not going to be running up into the front lines and getting too heavily involved in combat. So that's another stat block there. And what else do we have? We have a cloud giant, right? So we have 1 cloud giant visiting. We don't have a mini for him. We're going to have to end up using a token for him. I got a token for him around here somewhere buried away. You'll see it on the board when he ever appears. Here he is. Here we go. This is our stone giant token. Here's a couple cloud giants. So we got 2 cloud giants visiting. Let me just show you where those guys are on the map. So we got these 2 guys sitting here at this table, and right in front of us is the stone giant. So these 2 cloud giants, the stat blocks on them are pretty, they're boosted as well. They're, let's put this down here so you can take a look at them. So they're hit dice 12, armor class 2, okay? They're using these two-handed cloud maces. So if you see the first edition entry for the cloud giants, they showed them like dressed up like Greek and Roman type, senators or something. So they're wearing gold and have things in their hair or whatever. We're using some pictures from Pathfinder and from 4th edition and 3rd edition for these guys. So what we're going to do with them is these guys are royalty. So they're very noble and snobby and reserved. So they're wearing a lot of fanciful dress and have these magnificent hammers that they're going to use as weapons. So that's going to be pretty nasty. They don't have any magical abilities or anything like that, but they're very noble. So the Cloud Giants are here kind of in a sense of snobbery. They're involved in the big plan, but they're not getting anything out of it right now, so they're not all that too terribly impressed. With the brutalness and the backwardness of the of what's going on with the Wassail, they're probably not too terribly impressed with what's happening. So I think that we won't have a problem with them at all. So let's move on to who else do we got here. All right. Let's put this up in the background. Okay. So there's our Cloud Giants. We've got that knocked out. Now we also have these Ogre Magi, 6. I think we've all seen firsthand how nasty Ogre Magi can be. Let me show you where they are on the map. There was a room in the adventure they didn't clear out that some Ogre Magi slipped past. So we have 6 Ogre Magi up in the front, and technically one of those guys is dead already. So this guy, we'll put this guy at this back table is dead. You have to remember that when we get to the battle. Don't let me slip up on that one. And lastly, we have the bosses themselves. Oh my goodness. So let's just turn this around right here. So one of the first things we have, so this is the stat blocks for the Ogre Magi. They're not that big of a deal. Let's just show you that real quick. We got this. This is them right here. So the Ogre Magi are just hit dice 8. Okay, they're boosted a little bit. AC 4. They're using Glaze, 1 to 12 damage. To hit AC 0 is 12. They're all 64 health. The biggest problem with the Ogre Magi is their damn spell abilities. Once per day kind of things. Once per day can be a real deal breaker. You got 6 different guys that can all cast Ray of Cold, which does 8d8 damage. You could smoke this entire party if people don't save. You take half damage. It's like a breath weapon. You take half damage if you save, but you still take half of it. So if this is an 8d8 and the average is 32, you're guaranteed to take 16 damage. If you take max damage from 3 of these things, you're taking like 180 damage. You're going to get killed really quickly. They can cast Charm Person, which is really nasty. They can do Darkness, 10-foot radius, not a real big one. They can fly, so they want to escape. They can. They can go into gaseous form. We've been playing these. We've been playing these guys as not really interested in getting involved. The one Ogre Magi who attacked the party thought he could easily kill them while they were distracted. We've got a picture of that from the previous episode. Let's pull that up for you. We had this one right here in the bottom. We had one Ogre Magi when the party was killing and dragged this stunned Frost Giant back into this back room to do a coup de grace on him. This one Ogre Magi thought he could get away with it and blow them all away. And he almost killed half of them. He almost killed the Elfinisi. She was like down to 7 hit points. But they were able to yank and pull him down while he's levitating, flying, and kill his ass. So these guys are probably not going to be frontline killers. They're way back in the back. They're up near the front of the table, near the king's table, up here the lord's table. So they're very, how should we say it, going to watch and wait and see, and they'll use their elusiveness. Maybe they'll fly up into these upper platforms, protect themselves at all costs, maybe get involved with it. So I would consider them opportunists. Like if you're playing a rogue in World of Warcraft, you know what that's all about. So wow, we got a lot of stat blocks. So now, the bosses themselves. The first thing you'll notice on our throne here, and on this right side here, let me pull up a picture of this throne room, and we'll just slide this over a little bit. And I'm going to be able to, because this map is so huge, I think it'd be worthwhile to have it available to show you how big it is. So we're going to talk about this area that's down here in the bottom, which is kind of a picture on the right-hand side, okay? Let's do this like that. There you can see both of them at the same time. So you have the Lord of the Frost Giants himself. His name is Grugnur. The name Grugnur, I didn't make it up. It came from the original module. He's the Lord of Frost Giants. His stat block is really nasty. Let's give you a clip of that. He has 2 pet winter wolves that are giant-sized winter wolves. So this is his stat block here. He's hit dice 15. This is the highest hit dice creature they fought in the entire world, the entire adventure campaign. Their AC is AC -2. To hit AC 0, he needs an 8 naturally, but he's using this massive two-handed adamantite drow-crafted two-handed sword, which you see here in his mini. So he's this is our little miniature that we're going to use for him. Even though he's kind of dressed like a Slayer from Warhammer with a red beard, this guy's going to be very confident, very nasty, hard to bring down, lots of health. Very much a commander. He's going to be spending most of his time commanding everyone. He's wearing +5 plate mail. That's why his armor class is -2, which is drow crafted as well. And he has a cloak of protection on, which will give him a bonus to saving throws. So, but the big thing about him is his two-handed adamantite sword, so it's +5. So his damage is going to be 66 +5, and to hit AC 0, he only needs a 3. So it's not quite as good as Felcherna and Zolaris. Mercedes and Zolaris, but still a force to be reckoned with. So that is the big guy himself. He has 2 winter wolf pets with him, which we just called Sleet and Glacier, just to make funny little frost names for them. Sleet and Glacier are giant-sized winter wolves. Let me show you where they are here on the map. You can see them on the right-hand side. So they're going to be on either side of him, laying on this polar bear lug, while these 2 big, massive urns here. So Sleet and Glacier are hit dice 8, AC 6. Their damage is 3d6. They only bite. They have no special attacks except for their Howling Blast, which is like the Death Knight in World of Warcraft. You played Wrath of the Lich King. So the Howling Blast is a frontal cone effect. Knowing that in mind from our scouting, that's why Antola took the protection resist cold. That should help a lot to mitigate a lot of that damage. They get hit. They're 70 health. They're going to be very high movement rate and fast attacking. They will always stay close to their master, protect him unless he sends them. So if he sends them to fight and attack and charge down the hallway, especially with this kill zone, having 2 Howling Blasts happen in this kill zone can be very, very nasty and not very fun to deal with. So we have that happening. We have this Frost Giant Lord. You see the table on the right-hand side. There's a Frost Giant sitting in the middle. That's down here. From this perspective here, you see in the middle this adamantite table with these huge dragon bone designs on them. So he's sitting right in the middle next to a Frost Giant female cleric and a Stone Giant Elder. We talked about the Elder already. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this guy here. So the Frost Giant Lord, he's a visiting from another faction. You can almost imagine one of the guys in the Vikings program visiting Kattegat or whatever it's called. So let's get this pencil out so you can mark and point to him. He's hit dice 12. He's dual wielding, so we decided to make him a little different. So who's dual wielding this dragon jaw mandibles? So he's got 1 in each hand, like a white ancient, white dragon that he killed. He took the mandible, sawed it in half, put a bunch of iron spikes in it, whatever he did with it. So he's using these +4/+4 dual wielding jaw, which basically function as maces, like a Morning Star, because it's not really a slashing weapon. So to hit AC 0, he would normally only need a 9 because of +4 he only needs a 5. So he's going to be interesting. We've got a mini we're going to use for him. We're going to use this mini here for him. This is a really huge one. It's probably bigger than, it's probably the same size as most Frost Giants, but we thought this would be great. That way we can capture on the dual wield. Even though this guy has axes, looks like a regular old Viking. So we're going to use this mini to represent him, this visiting Jarl. So we want him to be a... kind of the way Floki was in the Viking show when the season first started until he became a wacko hanging out in Greenland or Iceland or wherever it is. We want this guy to be like frontline fighter, rush up there confidently, just start destroying and raping face. So we want him to be really nasty. So we're going to have him be very assertive. It's not his kingdom, but for him to come running in the front door and start attacking, he's not afraid of that kind of business. And lastly, we have a Fire Giant Princess. This is something that's not in the original module. Well, actually, none of these bosses are. So with her, we don't have a mini, but we got a Fire Giant that my wife painted who looks freaking totally cool and awesome, much more detailed. She got a steadier hand than me. And that hasn't been had a lacquer coat put on it yet, but it's pretty decently done. We're just going to use that to represent her. Now, she's a hit dice 12, AC 0. She's using a shield and a massive black iron mace. Now, we didn't have a mini that looked just like that. There is one on Reaper Bones I want to order for myself, but it would never get here in time, and I wanted to get this battle started before Christmas. So she's 90 health. She can do a bash attack with her shield and then a swing with her mace. So she's very melee-centric as well, so she's like a battle cleric. So for her, she's going to be intelligent. She's not going to run up in the front line and start killing people. That's her sitting here on this side here. We've got a little token that we could use to represent her, so you can remember that she's a female, because I don't have a female mini for her. So we could use this one here, which is a picture from I think it was 3.5 edition, or maybe 5th edition, can't remember, 3.5 edition. This is beautiful artwork, wonderful painting. It may have been in 4th edition. So, but we're going to use this cool mini to represent her. So, with her being a shield maiden style female with a cleric, she's not afraid of dying. Nothing's going to kill her. She can heal herself. We gave her some pretty crazy spells. We gave her 1 heal. We gave her a +5 protection AC to bonus and rolls, so she has like a giant version of a clerical spell. If you ever played EverQuest and you fought Nagafen or any of the dragons, a lot of the dragons are the same classes as characters, but they have different spells. We call them monster spells. So we also gave her a patch wound spell, which is like a quick little heal that she can do one time, which will give her like cleanse anything on her, like any burning effects or frost effects or dispel. It's like a dispel magic restoration spell from 3.5. So she's really neat, really crazy too. Okay, so now you know what we're up against. We've got our battlefield set up here. What we're going to do is we're going to stop here, take a break, and then come back and let the battle begin. So, wow, we've been building up to this fight for a long time. I'm almost nervous. I'm afraid that someone's going to die. But I tell you what we'll do. We'll take a break and look for the next episode when the battle commences, and we'll get these battle sheets out of the way, and we will see how well the dice let our party survive and how their first pull goes. Could be nasty. Could be a complete party kill. I don't know. It happens. It happens. There's nothing I can do about it. But everything else is prepared. All we got to do now is bravely step forward and go for it. All right, cool. Look for the next episode. This is Classic DM, Glacial Rift for Frost Giant Jarl.